Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing great. In today's video, we're going to explain the complete story of the newly released Chinese vertical drama, Sistem Pengorbanan Armor. This is not just another action drama. It's a thrilling journey filled with powerful battles, mysterious armor, dangerous enemies, shocking betrayals, and unexpected plot twists. The story follows an ordinary young man whose life changes forever after he obtains a mysterious armor system that gives him incredible powers. But every new power comes with a painful sacrifice, forcing him to make impossible choices as he fights stronger enemies and uncovers dark secrets. In this video, I'll explain the complete story from beginning to end, covering every important scene, every major twist, and every emotional moment in simple and easy-to-understand English. So sit back, relax, and let's dive straight into the complete story of Sistem Pengorbanan Armor. No one in the kingdom of Astera believed that fate could change overnight. People were born into their social class, and they usually died in the same place. The nobles ruled from shining castles built high above the clouds. Wealthy merchants controlled the cities below, and ordinary villagers struggled every day just to survive. For 18-year-old Kale Rowan, life had never offered anything except disappointment. He lived in a forgotten mountain village where monsters often attacked during the cold season, leaving families without food or shelter. His father had disappeared years ago during a mysterious expedition, while his mother passed away after a terrible illness. Since then, Kale had worked as a blacksmith's assistant, repairing broken farming tools and rusted weapons. Every morning he woke before sunrise, covered himself in soot, and spent long hours hammering metal that belonged to other people. Although he worked harder than anyone else, he remained poor, invisible, and underestimated. Despite his difficult life, Kale refused to become bitter. Deep inside his heart, he believed there had to be something greater waiting beyond the mountains. Every evening, he climbed the highest cliff overlooking the valley and watched the distant capital glow beneath the stars. Travelers often told stories about legendary warriors who wore magical armor capable of defeating dragons, demons, and immortal beasts. Those stories sounded impossible, yet Kale listened carefully every time they passed through the village. While everyone else laughed at the old legends, he secretly wished that one day he would discover something extraordinary. One rainy afternoon, the village chief gathered everyone in the square. Scouts had reported that strange monsters were moving toward the valley far earlier than expected. The local guards were too weak to stop them, and help from the capital would take several days to arrive. Fear spread across the village like wildfire. Parents rushed to protect their children while merchants packed their belongings, preparing to escape. Kale volunteered to help defend the village, but the captain only laughed. "You," the captain mocked. "You've never won a real fight. Stay in the forge before you get yourself killed." Kale lowered his head without saying another word. He understood why people doubted him. He had no military training, no magical abilities, and no famous family name. Still, hearing those words hurt more than he wanted to admit. That night, he couldn't sleep. Instead, he packed a small backpack containing bread, water, and the old compass that had belonged to his missing father. The compass never pointed north. Instead, its needle constantly turned toward the dark mountains where his father had vanished years earlier. Many believed the compass was broken, but Kale had always suspected it was guiding him somewhere important. As the moon disappeared behind thick clouds, Kale quietly left the village. He followed the compass into the forest, climbing steep cliffs and crossing abandoned paths that no one had used for decades. Hours passed before he reached the entrance of an ancient cave hidden beneath giant vines. Strange symbols covered the stone walls, glowing faintly with blue light whenever the compass came close. The moment Kale stepped inside, the entrance sealed itself behind him with a loud rumble. His heartbeat accelerated. "Who's there?" he shouted. Only silence answered. The cave stretched deep underground. Crystal formations illuminated the darkness with soft silver light, revealing carvings that depicted enormous armored warriors fighting terrifying creatures unlike anything Kale had ever seen. Every wall told part of a forgotten history. The deeper he walked, the colder the air became. Eventually, he reached a massive circular chamber. In its center stood an ancient suit of black armor resting upon a stone throne. Unlike ordinary armor, this one seemed alive. Thin lines of golden energy flowed across its surface like veins beneath human skin. A broken sword rested beside it, covered with centuries of dust. Kale approached carefully. The moment his fingers touched the armor, the entire chamber trembled. Blue flames erupted around the throne. Ancient symbols floated through the air. Then a calm mechanical voice echoed from every direction. Compatibility scan initiated. Kale stepped backward in panic. What is happening? The voice ignored his question. Searching for worthy successor. Bright light surrounded him from head to toe. Bloodline verification complete. Soul integrity verified. Courage assessment successful. Finally, the voice announced something that completely changed his life. Candidate accepted. The armor suddenly broke apart into hundreds of glowing fragments before flying directly toward Kale. He tried to run, but the pieces attached themselves to his body one by one. The helmet formed around his head, followed by the chest plate, gauntlets, boots, and shoulder guards. Instead of feeling heavy, the armor felt weightless, as though it had always belonged to him. A sharp pain exploded through his chest. He collapsed to one knee. Golden symbols appeared before his eyes. Armor system activated. User identified, Kale Rowan. Synchronization, 1%. Primary mission, protect the balance. Warning, every evolution requires an equal sacrifice. Kale stared at the glowing words in disbelief. They are floating. Before he could react, memories that did not belong to him flooded his mind. He saw ancient battlefields, burning cities, enormous dragons crashing from the sky, and warriors wearing armor similar to his own. Millions of voices whispered simultaneously, each carrying fragments of forgotten knowledge. The pain became unbearable. Then everything stopped. The chamber fell silent once again. Kale slowly stood up and looked at his reflection in a crystal wall. The black armor had disappeared completely. Only a strange silver mark remained on the back of his right hand. Was it all a dream? As soon as he thought those words, glowing text appeared again. Armor mode, standby. Summon command available. Kale hesitated before whispering. Armor, activate. In an instant, silver light exploded around him. The armor returned, assembling itself across his body in less than a second. Kale couldn't believe what he was seeing. He clenched his fist. Power surged through every muscle. His senses became sharper than ever before. He could hear water dripping hundreds of meters away. He could see tiny cracks inside distant stones. Even his heartbeat sounded louder. Then another message appeared. Tutorial mission. Defeat one shadow beast. Reward, basic combat skill. Failure, no reward. Before Kale could even understand what the system meant, a terrifying growl echoed through the chamber. The darkness behind him began moving. Two glowing red eyes slowly opened. A creature made entirely of black smoke stepped into the light. It resembled a massive wolf, but its body was covered with razor-sharp spikes and burning crimson markings. Saliva dripped from its enormous jaws as it stared directly at Kale. The system displayed another message. Enemy detected. Threat level, moderate. Estimated survival chance without armor, 3%. Estimated survival chance with armor, 47%. Kale swallowed nervously. I've never fought anything in my life. The beast roared and charged forward with incredible speed. Kale barely raised his arms before the monster slammed into him. Instead of breaking his bones, the armor absorbed most of the impact. He was thrown several meters backward, but quickly stood again. The creature attacked once more. This time Kale instinctively dodged. Without understanding how, his body moved faster than his mind. The system wasn't simply protecting him. It was teaching him. The battle for his life had only just begun, and deep beneath the forgotten mountain, the first chapter of a legendary warrior's journey was finally beginning. The shadow beast attacked without giving Kale a single moment to think. Its enormous claws tore through the air with terrifying speed, leaving deep scratches across the stone floor. Kale barely managed to roll away before the attack landed where he had been standing only a second earlier. His heart pounded so loudly that it almost drowned out the creature's growls. Until this moment, he had never fought anything more dangerous than a wild boar. Now he was standing face to face with a monster that looked as though it had escaped from an ancient nightmare. The silver armor covering his body felt strangely alive. Every movement became smoother than before, almost as if invisible hands were guiding him. A glowing message suddenly appeared in front of his eyes. Combat assistance activated. Observe. Adapt. Survive. Before Kale could understand the meaning of those words, another attack came rushing toward him. The beast lunged through the darkness, aiming directly for his throat. Instinct took over. His body twisted to one side, avoiding the deadly claws by only a few inches. As he moved, another strange feeling spread through his arms. Without thinking, he threw a punch toward the monster's ribs. The impact shocked both Kale and the creature. A loud metallic sound echoed through the chamber as the beast was knocked backward several meters. Although it wasn't seriously injured, it stared at Kale with visible surprise. The ordinary village boy who had entered the cave only minutes earlier was no longer completely helpless. The creature circled him slowly, searching for another opening. Kale forced himself to breathe calmly despite the fear filling his chest. He remembered something his father had once told him before disappearing. A frightened mind makes slow decisions. A calm mind survives. For the first time since entering the cave, Kale stopped panicking. Instead of watching the monster's claws, he focused on its shoulders and legs. Every attack began with the smallest movement of its muscles. The shadow beast roared once again. This time Kale saw it coming. The monster leaped into the air, but Kale stepped aside at exactly the right moment. The beast crashed into a stone pillar instead, sending broken rocks flying across the chamber. Before it could recover, Kale grabbed the broken sword lying beside the ancient throne. The weapon looked old and rusted, but the instant his fingers wrapped around the handle, the armor system reacted. Ancient weapon detected. Synchronizing. The rust covering the blade began falling away like dust carried by the wind. Bright silver light spread across the sword as ancient symbols appeared along its edge. Within seconds, the broken weapon transformed into a beautiful longsword glowing with blue energy. Kale stared in disbelief. This sword, it changed. The system answered immediately. Guardian blade restored. Weapon rank, common. Attack power increased by 18%. The shadow beast charged again before Kale had time to admire the weapon. This time he didn't retreat. He stepped forward instead. The sword sliced through the air with surprising speed. Blue light flashed across the chamber. The creature cried out in pain as a deep wound appeared across its shoulder. Thick black smoke escaped instead of blood. Furious now, the beast attacked even more aggressively. It struck again and again, forcing Kale backward toward the edge of the chamber. Despite the armor's protection, every blocked attack shook his entire body. His arms felt heavier with each passing second. Sweat rolled down his forehead beneath the helmet. A warning suddenly appeared. Energy level, 22%. Prolonged combat not recommended. Kale realized the armor wasn't limitless. If his energy reached zero before the battle ended, he would be completely defenseless. I need to finish this now. Looking around the chamber, he noticed the damaged stone pillars surrounding the battlefield. An idea formed in his mind. Instead of attacking, Kale began running. The shadow beast chased him immediately, smashing through rocks as it followed. Kale sprinted between the ancient pillars, pretending to lose his balance several times. The monster believed victory was close and charged even faster. At the last possible moment, Kale jumped aside. The enormous beast crashed directly into the largest pillar. A deafening crack echoed through the chamber. The ancient column collapsed, burying the monster beneath several tons of stone. Dust filled the air. Silence returned. Kale stood frozen, breathing heavily. Is it over? For several long seconds, nothing moved. Then one enormous claw burst through the rubble. The shadow beast was still alive. Although badly injured, it slowly crawled free, its glowing red eyes burning with even greater hatred than before. Kale tightened his grip on the guardian blade. This ends here. Without hesitation, he charged forward. The beast lunged at exactly the same moment. Both reached each other in the center of the chamber. Time seemed to slow. Kale remembered every movement the system had shown him during the battle. Instead of swinging wildly, he waited until the monster opened its jaws for one final bite. That tiny opening was all he needed. With every ounce of strength remaining, Kale drove the glowing sword straight through the creature's chest. The chamber exploded with brilliant blue light. The shadow beast let out one final roar before its entire body dissolved into thousands of tiny black particles that floated silently into the air before disappearing forever. For a few moments, Kale simply stood there, unable to believe he was still alive. Then the familiar mechanical voice echoed around him. Tutorial mission complete. Enemy eliminated. Rewards granted. Golden windows appeared before his eyes one after another. Level increased. 1-2. Strength +5. Speed +4. Endurance +6. Skill unlocked. Guardian's Instinct. Synchronization increased. 1%, 5%. Kale felt a wave of warmth spread through his body. Every bruise disappeared instantly. His exhaustion faded as fresh energy replaced it. Before he could celebrate, another message appeared. Hidden mission activated. Reason: you restored the Guardian Blade. Objective: find the Hall of Forgotten Guardians. Time remaining: unknown. Kale frowned. What hall? Where? The chamber suddenly began shaking violently. Cracks spread across the walls. Pieces of rock crashed from the ceiling. The entire cave was collapsing. Without wasting another second, Kale sprinted toward a narrow tunnel that had opened behind the ancient throne. The compass hanging around his neck started spinning wildly before pointing straight into the darkness ahead. It nosed the way. Holding the glowing sword tightly, Kale disappeared into the hidden passage just as the great chamber collapsed behind him. He had survived the armor system's first trial, but somewhere deep beneath the mountains, something ancient had awakened the moment he claimed the Guardian armor. And far beyond the cave, inside the royal capital, an old man dressed in white robes suddenly opened his eyes during meditation. A glowing crystal floating beside him shattered into dozens of pieces. His expression turned pale. The Guardian armor, he whispered. After 500 years, it has finally chosen a new master. Unknown to Kale, powerful forces across the kingdom had already begun searching for the person who had awakened the legendary armor. His first battle was over, but the true war was only beginning. The narrow tunnel stretched endlessly beneath the mountain, its walls glowing with faint blue crystals that pulsed like a heartbeat. Kale ran without looking back, his footsteps echoing through the darkness as the cave behind him continued to collapse. Dust clouds chased him through the passage, and chunks of stone crashed to the ground only seconds after he passed them. His lungs burned from exhaustion, yet he refused to slow down. Somehow, he knew the mysterious armor system had guided him here for a reason. After nearly 20 minutes of running, the tunnel finally widened into a breathtaking underground valley unlike anything Kale had ever imagined. A massive cavern stretched for miles beneath the mountains, illuminated by thousands of floating crystals that resembled tiny blue stars. Underground rivers shimmered like liquid silver, while giant trees with glowing leaves reached toward the rocky ceiling. Ancient stone bridges connected floating islands suspended in midair by an unknown force. It looked less like a cave and more like a forgotten world hidden beneath the kingdom. Kale stood speechless. So this place really exists. His father's strange compass suddenly stopped spinning. The needle pointed toward a magnificent temple standing at the center of the underground valley. Although much of the structure had collapsed with age, its towering pillars and enormous entrance still radiated an overwhelming sense of power. Massive statues of armored warriors stood on both sides of the gate, each holding a different weapon. Their expressions were calm, yet their eyes seemed almost alive. The moment Kale stepped onto the ancient stone bridge leading to the temple, the silver mark on the back of his hand began glowing. A familiar message appeared. Hidden mission updated. Destination reached. Enter the Hall of Forgotten Guardians. Reward unknown. Kale took a deep breath and walked toward the enormous gate. As he reached the entrance, the two stone statues suddenly moved. Dust fell from their bodies as centuries-old joints awakened with loud grinding sounds. The gigantic doors slowly opened by themselves. A cold wind escaped from inside. Kale tightened his grip on the Guardian Blade before stepping through the entrance. The hall beyond was even more magnificent than the outside. Hundreds of armored statues lined both sides of a long marble corridor. Some carried swords, others held spears, axes, bows, or magical staffs. Every statue looked different, but all wore armor similar to the one Kale had inherited. At the far end of the hall stood a giant crystal throne. Unlike everything else inside the temple, the throne remained untouched by time. It shone with brilliant golden light. As Kale approached, the entire hall suddenly trembled. One by one, Blue flames appeared above every statue. The flames slowly took human shape. Within seconds, hundreds of transparent warriors stood silently inside the hall. Kale immediately raised his sword. "Who are you?" None of them answered. Instead, they all bowed respectfully. Then one spirit stepped forward. He appeared to be an elderly knight with long silver hair and calm blue eyes. Although his body was transparent, the authority surrounding him felt very real. "So," the old warrior smiled gently. "After 5 centuries, the Guardian armor has finally chosen another successor." Kale looked around in confusion. "You know about this armor?" The old man nodded. "I know because I was its last master." Kale's eyes widened. "You were." "My name has long been forgotten," the spirit replied. "But many centuries ago, people called me Commander Orion, first guardian of Astera." Kale struggled to process everything. "If you're dead, then how are you standing here?" Orion smiled. "My body died long ago. My soul remained behind to protect this sanctuary until a worthy successor appeared." He slowly walked around Kale, carefully examining both the armor and the silver mark on his hand. "The synchronization is progressing faster than expected. You can see that. I helped create the armor system." Kale froze. "You created it?" "Not alone." The old commander's expression suddenly became serious. "Long before your kingdom existed, our world faced an enemy unlike anything history remembers." With a wave of his hand, the crystal throne projected countless glowing images into the air. Kale watched enormous cities burn beneath dark skies. Mountains exploded. Oceans boiled. Gigantic monsters covered in black armor destroyed entire armies. People fled in every direction. "What are those things?" Kale whispered. "The Void Legion," Orion answered quietly. "They came from beyond our world." The images changed again. Thousands of armored warriors fought against the monstrous invaders. Although incredibly powerful, the Guardians were heavily outnumbered. One by one they fell. The final image showed 12 legendary warriors standing together around a circle of golden light. "We knew we couldn't win through strength alone," Orion continued. "So we created the armor system." Kale looked confused. "But why?" "Because we needed future generations." The commander pointed directly toward Kale. "We sealed our knowledge, our weapons, and our experience inside the armor, waiting for someone worthy enough to inherit everything." Kale lowered his sword. "So, all of this was meant for me?" "No." Orion shook his head. "It was meant for whoever proved worthy." The words carried unexpected weight. For the first time in his life, Kale realized that his destiny wasn't determined by his family name or his social status. He had earned this chance. Suddenly, the armor system interrupted. Synchronization increased, 8%. Memory archive unlocked. Hundreds of glowing books suddenly appeared around the hall. Each floated silently through the air. "What are those?" Kale asked. "The memories of every guardian who came before you," Orion explained. "Each one contains a lifetime of combat experience." Kale stared in amazement. "A lifetime?" "Exactly." The old commander smiled. "You could spend 20 years learning the sword." He gently touched one glowing book. "Or learn those same lessons in a single day." Before Kale could respond, a loud explosion echoed throughout the underground valley. The entire temple shook violently. Dust rained from the ceiling. Another spirit rushed into the hall. "Commander," he shouted. "They found the sanctuary." Orion's calm expression immediately disappeared. "So soon?" Kale frowned. "Who found us?" Before anyone answered, another explosion shattered part of the temple wall. Cold black smoke poured into the hall. Dozens of masked warriors wearing dark crimson armor stepped through the broken entrance. At their front stood a tall man carrying a black spear. His face remained hidden beneath an iron mask shaped like a demon. He slowly looked around the hall before his eyes stopped on Kale. "So," the masked warrior laughed, "the Guardian armor finally has a new owner." Orion immediately stepped in front of Kale. "Run!" But the masked man simply smiled. "You still don't understand, old ghost." He pointed his spear directly toward Kale. "We weren't searching for the sanctuary." His voice became cold enough to freeze the air itself. "We were searching for him." Kale's heart skipped a beat. How could they possibly know he was here? The armor system suddenly displayed a bright red warning across his vision. "Emergency alert. Enemy identified. Organization, Shadow Dominion. Threat level, extreme. Recommended action, escape immediately." Before Kale could react, the masked leader raised one hand. Every soldier behind him drew their weapons at the same time. The ancient Hall of Forgotten Guardians, hidden for 500 years, had finally been discovered. And Kale's greatest battle had only just begun. The Hall of Forgotten Guardians fell into complete silence as the soldiers of the Shadow Dominion slowly spread throughout the temple. Their heavy boots echoed against the ancient marble floor, while dark energy surrounded each of their weapons. Kale tightened his grip on the Guardian blade. But even without the armor system's warning, he could sense the enormous difference in strength. The warriors standing before him were nothing like the shadow beast he had barely defeated. These men were disciplined killers who had spent years hunting powerful enemies. The masked leader calmly walked forward, his black spear scraping across the stone floor and leaving glowing crimson marks wherever it touched. His movements were slow, almost relaxed, as if he already knew the battle was over before it had begun. The silver spirits of the ancient guardians immediately formed a protective circle around Kale, their transparent weapons shining with blue light. Commander Orion stepped to the front of the formation, his eyes filled with determination. "You will not touch the successor," Orion declared. The masked man laughed softly. "You are only memories trapped inside this temple. You cannot stop the future." Without another word, he raised two fingers. Every Shadow Dominion soldier attacked simultaneously. The temple exploded into chaos. Although the guardian spirits had no physical bodies, their swords and spears clashed against the enemy's weapons with bursts of blue energy. Ancient battle techniques that had been forgotten for centuries filled the enormous hall once again. Kale watched in amazement as Orion moved with impossible speed, cutting through enemy attacks before they could reach him. Every swing of the old commander's sword carried the elegance of a true master. For a brief moment, it seemed the Guardians were winning. Then everything changed. One of the Shadow Dominion soldiers removed a strange black crystal from his belt and crushed it in his hand. Thick black smoke erupted across the battlefield, spreading rapidly through the temple like living darkness. Wherever the smoke touched a Guardian spirit, its body began fading. Orion's expression darkened. "They're using soul corruption crystals." The masked leader smiled beneath his iron helmet. "You didn't think we came unprepared, did you?" Within seconds, dozens of guardian spirits had weakened dramatically. Some disappeared completely, their ancient souls finally fading after centuries of protecting the sanctuary. Kale felt anger rising inside him. They protected this place for hundreds of years. He stepped forward, but Orion immediately blocked his path. "No, but they're dying. They already gave their lives once," Orion replied calmly. "If you rush into battle now, their sacrifice will mean nothing." Before Kale could answer, 3 enemy soldiers broke through the defensive line and charged directly toward him. The armor system reacted instantly. Combat mode activated. Guardian's instinct engaged. Kale's body moved almost on its own. He dodged the first sword strike, spun around the second attacker, and blocked the third with his glowing blade. Sparks flew through the air as steel collided against ancient magic. The soldiers looked surprised. "So the rumors were true," one of them muttered. "The armor really chose a child." Another warrior laughed. "This will be easier than expected." Their confidence disappeared a second later. Kale's sword flashed with brilliant silver light as he struck faster than any ordinary human should have been capable of moving. One soldier was thrown backward into a pillar, while another lost his weapon completely. The third barely escaped with a deep cut across his shoulder. The armor system displayed another notification. Combat analysis complete. Sword mastery increased. Synchronization, 8%, 10%. Although Kale was growing stronger, he quickly realized something was wrong. Every successful attack drained a portion of his energy. A blue bar appeared in the corner of his vision. Armor energy, 61%. "It keeps dropping," the system immediately explained. Higher synchronization increases energy efficiency. Current synchronization insufficient for prolonged combat. Kale understood. The armor was incredibly powerful, but he still hadn't unlocked its full potential. Across the hall, Commander Orion continued fighting the masked leader. Their battle was unlike anything Kale had ever imagined. Every clash between the black spear and Orion's glowing sword created shockwaves powerful enough to crack the temple walls. Despite Orion's incredible skill, something was wrong. His body became more transparent with every passing minute. The old commander noticed Kale watching him. "Our time is running out," he called. "You must reach the inner sanctuary. What about you?" "I'll hold them here." Kale immediately shook his head. "I'm not leaving everyone behind." Orion smiled sadly. "That answer proves why the armor chose you." Before Kale could argue again, Orion slammed his sword into the ground. A massive wall of blue energy erupted across the temple, separating Kale from the battlefield. "Go," the commander shouted. "The future of the Guardians depends on you." The temple floor suddenly began moving. Ancient symbols lit up beneath Kale's feet. Hidden mechanisms that had remained dormant for centuries activated at once. A circular platform slowly descended into the darkness below the temple. Kale tried to jump off, but invisible energy surrounded the platform. He was trapped. "No." He reached toward Orion as the platform continued descending. The old commander simply smiled. "Remember this, Kale. True strength is never measured by power alone. It is measured by the lives you choose to protect." The floor closed above him. Darkness swallowed everything. Far above, the battle continued. Kale pounded his fists against the stone ceiling, but nothing happened. For the first time since obtaining the Guardian armor, he felt completely powerless. Several minutes later, the platform finally stopped. A new chamber stretched before him. Unlike the magnificent temple above, this place was small and silent. At its center stood a circular pedestal holding a glowing crystal sphere no larger than a human heart. The armor system immediately reacted. Guardian core detected. Compatibility, 99.8%. Warning: absorbing the Guardian core will permanently change your armor system. This process cannot be reversed. Kale slowly approached the crystal. Inside its glowing surface, countless tiny lights floated like stars across a night sky. As he reached out, he remembered Orion's final words. "The future of the Guardians depends on you." Without hesitation, Kale placed his hand on the Guardian core. The entire underground sanctuary shook violently. The crystal shattered into thousands of brilliant fragments that flowed directly into his body. Pain unlike anything he had ever experienced surged through every nerve. He fell to his knees as silver lightning surrounded him. The armor system's calm voice echoed inside his mind. Guardian core successfully absorbed. Synchronization, 10%, 20%. New ability unlocked. Before the message could finish, another voice echoed through the chamber. It wasn't mechanical. It wasn't Orion. It sounded ancient and alive. "At last, the second Guardian has awakened." Kale slowly lifted his head. Someone else was inside the darkness. And whatever had spoken knew far more about the armor system than Orion had ever revealed. The mysterious voice echoed through the underground chamber long after the light from the shattered Guardian core had faded. Kale remained on one knee, struggling to breathe as waves of energy surged through every part of his body. His heartbeat had become unnaturally slow, yet he could feel an incredible power awakening beneath his skin. The silver mark on the back of his hand expanded into a beautiful circular symbol that glowed like molten metal. For several moments, the chamber remained completely silent. Then the darkness ahead slowly began to move. A tall figure stepped forward from the shadows, dressed in ancient silver armor unlike anything Kale had ever seen. The armor looked elegant rather than heavy, decorated with golden patterns that resembled flowing rivers of light. Unlike Commander Orion, this warrior appeared almost completely solid. Only the faint glow surrounding his body revealed that he was not truly alive. Kale instinctively reached for the Guardian blade. "Who are you?" The warrior stopped only a few steps away. His face looked calm, carrying the wisdom of countless centuries. Long white hair rested across his shoulders, and his bright silver eyes seemed capable of seeing through every secret hidden inside a person's heart. "I have waited a very long time for this moment," the stranger said quietly. "My name is Lucian." Kale frowned. "Another Guardian?" Lucian slowly nodded. "I was the second Guardian and the first master of the Guardian Corps." Kale stared at him in disbelief. "I thought Commander Orion was the first." "He was the first Guardian commander," Lucian explained. "I was the first person to master the core itself. There is an important difference." Kale lowered his sword slightly, but his questions only continued to grow. "If you've been here all this time, why didn't you help Orion protect the temple?" A faint sadness crossed Lucian's face. "Because I couldn't." He gently raised one hand. Golden chains suddenly appeared around both of his wrists. Then Kale noticed even more chains wrapped around his entire body, disappearing deep into the walls of the chamber. "They sealed me here," Lucien said. "Not as punishment, but as protection." Protection from what? Lucien didn't answer immediately. Instead, he pointed toward the shattered remains of the Guardian Core. "The moment you absorbed that core, the final seal was broken." Kale felt a chill run down his spine. "What seal?" Lucien's expression became unusually serious. "The seal that has protected humanity for 500 years. Before Kale could ask another question, the armor system suddenly projected a large golden screen into the air. Guardian Core integration complete. Synchronization, 20%. New skills unlocked. Guardian Vision. Energy control. Armor recall. Hidden function detected. Permission required." Kale watched the glowing words disappear before looking back at Lucien. "What is the hidden function?" Lucien smiled slightly. "The true purpose of the armor system." He slowly walked toward the center of the chamber. "Most people believe the armor exists to make its user stronger." He shook his head. That was never its real purpose. With a simple wave of his hand, countless glowing symbols filled the room. Images appeared in the air. Kale saw the 12 original Guardians standing together around an enormous machine made entirely of crystal. The armor system was never designed as a weapon. It was designed as a key. "A key," Kale repeated. Lucien nodded. "There are 12 Guardian cores. You have only absorbed one." Kale looked at his glowing hand. "So there are 11 more?" "Yes. And when someone gathers all 12, Lucien paused. "They can open the Celestial Gate." The name meant nothing to Kale. "What is the Celestial Gate?" Lucien's eyes became distant. "It is the prison that holds the King of the Void." The chamber suddenly felt colder. The leader of the monsters? The creator of them? Kale remembered the terrifying visions Orion had shown him. "You mean he's still alive?" Lucien answered without hesitation. "He has never died." Those words echoed through Kale's mind. For 500 years, everyone had believed the ancient war had ended. Instead, it had only been delayed. Suddenly, the entire chamber shook violently. Dust fell from the ceiling. A loud explosion echoed from somewhere above. Lucien immediately turned toward the roof. "They're breaking through faster than expected." "The Shadow Dominion?" Kale asked. Lucien nodded. "They aren't searching for the armor. They're searching for the Guardian cores." Kale finally understood. "If they collect all 12, Lucien finished the sentence. "They will release the King of the Void." Before Kale could respond, another message appeared before his eyes. "Emergency mission activated. Mission, escape the sanctuary. Difficulty, high. Time remaining, 15 minutes. Failure result, Guardian Core captured." Kale looked toward Lucien. "We need to leave." Lucien smiled sadly. "I cannot." Kale frowned. "What do you mean?" "My soul is bound to this sanctuary." He gently touched the glowing chains around his wrists. "If I leave, I disappear forever." Kale remained silent. After everything Lucien had revealed, he didn't want to lose another guardian. The old warrior seemed to understand exactly what Kale was thinking. "Do not pity me. I completed my duty centuries ago. My mission now is to prepare yours." Lucien reached into the air. A small silver pendant materialized in his hand. Its center held a tiny blue crystal that shimmered with gentle light. "This is the Guardian Compass." Kale looked surprised. "My father had a compass too." Lucien smiled. "Then your father found this place." Kale's eyes widened. "You knew my father?" For the first time, Lucien hesitated. "Yes." The answer struck Kale harder than any enemy attack. "You knew him? Where is he? Is he alive?" Question after question poured from Kale without stopping. Lucien lowered his head. "I promised him I would tell you the truth. Only after you survived the first trial." Kale stepped closer. "Then tell me." Lucien took a slow breath. "Your father wasn't an explorer. He was a guardian candidate." Kale froze. "What?" "He reached this sanctuary 18 years ago. He passed every trial. He was chosen by the armor system." Kale could hardly believe what he was hearing. "But he never came home." Lucien closed his eyes. "Because he chose another path. He left to stop the Shadow Dominion before they could find the Guardian cores." Kale's voice trembled. "So he's alive?" Lucien remained silent. That silence gave Kale his answer. "No one knows." The old guardian handed him the silver pendant. "If he still lives, This pendant will lead you to him. The moment Kale accepted it, the armor system updated again. New main objective added. Find the lost guardian candidate. Objective priority, highest. Kale looked down at the glowing pendant. For the first time since beginning his journey, he wasn't fighting only to survive anymore. Now he had something even more important. Hope. But far above the sanctuary, the masked leader of the Shadow Dominion stood over the defeated guardian spirits, his crimson spear dripping with glowing blue energy. Commander Orion had fallen to one knee, badly weakened after protecting the temple for so long. The masked man smiled beneath his iron mask. The boy has already taken the guardian core. He slowly raised his spear toward the floor beneath his feet. Then we'll simply dig him out. With one devastating strike, the entire sanctuary trembled. Deep cracks raced across the underground chamber where Kale and Lucien stood. The final barrier protecting the last secret of the Guardians was beginning to collapse. The entire underground sanctuary shook violently as another deafening explosion echoed from above. Thick cracks spread across the crystal walls, and pieces of glowing stone crashed onto the floor. Dust filled the chamber, making it difficult to breathe. Kale instinctively raised his arm to shield his face while the guardian armor surrounded him with a faint silver barrier. The armor system reacted immediately. Emergency alert. Structural integrity, 31%. Estimated collapse, 9 minutes. Immediate evacuation recommended. Kale looked toward Lucien, who remained calm despite the chaos surrounding them. They're breaking through, Kale said. Lucien nodded. The Shadow Dominion has searched for this sanctuary for centuries. Now that they know the Guardian Core has awakened, they won't stop until they either capture you or destroy everything. Another violent tremor shook the chamber. One of the ancient crystal pillars split down the middle before crashing onto the floor. Kale tightened his grip on the guardian blade. Then let's leave. Lucien smiled, but there was sadness hidden behind his eyes. You still don't understand. Kale frowned. What do you mean? The exit isn't your greatest challenge. Lucien slowly pointed toward a massive circular door at the far end of the chamber. Unlike every other structure in the sanctuary, this door was made from black crystal covered with glowing silver symbols. 12 empty circles surrounded its center. Every guardian who inherited the armor had to pass one final trial before leaving this place. Kale looked at the enormous gate. What kind of trial? Lucien answered quietly. The trial of the heart. Before Kale could ask another question, the armor system suddenly displayed another message. Final initiation trial detected. Success required for full guardian status. Failure will permanently reduce synchronization. Kale took a deep breath. I don't have a choice, do I? Lucien simply shook his head. No. The enormous black door slowly opened by itself. Darkness waited on the other side. The moment Kale stepped inside, the entrance sealed shut behind him. Complete silence filled the room. There were no walls, no ceiling, no floor. Only endless darkness stretching in every direction. Kale looked around in confusion. Where am I? A familiar voice answered him. You've finally come. Kale froze. That voice. He hadn't heard it in 18 years. Slowly turning around, he saw a man standing only a few steps away. He wore simple traveling clothes covered with dust. A worn leather compass hung around his neck. His warm smile hadn't changed. Kale's eyes filled with tears. Father, the man smiled gently. You've grown so much. Kale ran toward him without thinking. I knew you were alive. But the moment he reached out, his hand passed straight through the man's body. The image rippled like water. Kale stopped. His smile disappeared. No. The man looked at him with kind eyes. I'm sorry. This isn't real. The armor system displayed another notification. Emotional memory construct generated. Purpose, final evaluation. Kale slowly lowered his head. So, you're only a memory. The image nodded. A memory created from your heart. Pain spread through Kale's chest, but before he could speak again, the darkness around him suddenly changed. The peaceful memory disappeared. The world transformed into his childhood village. Smoke filled the air. Buildings burned. People screamed. Kale recognized every face. The blacksmith who had raised him. The village chief. Children playing in the streets. His neighbors. All of them were running from enormous shadow creatures. What is this? The system answered. Guardian Trial Phase 1. Choose. Suddenly another image appeared. Far away, Kale saw Lucian chained inside the collapsing sanctuary. At the same time, Commander Orion continued fighting alone against dozens of Shadow Dominion soldiers. Then another vision appeared. A lonely traveler wandered through a frozen mountain pass. The traveler wore the exact same compass as Kale. His father. The system's mechanical voice echoed across the illusion. 3 paths detected. Save your village. Save the Guardians. Search for your father. Only one path may be chosen. Kale stared at the 3 visions. What? There has to be another way. Choice required. The burning village grew worse. Children cried for help. The Guardians continued falling one by one. Far away, the lonely traveler slowly disappeared into a blizzard. Kale's breathing became heavier. If I choose one, the others die? No answer came. His fists trembled. This isn't fair. Still, silence. Then Kale remembered something Orion had said. True strength is measured by the lives you choose to protect. Another memory surfaced. His mother smiling despite her illness. She had once told him, a real hero never asks which life is worth more. Kale slowly closed his eyes. There has to be another answer. Instead of choosing one path, Kale stepped away from all 3. I refuse. The system remained silent. I won't sacrifice innocent people just because someone tells me I have to. The glowing choices began flashing red. Invalid decision. Kale stood his ground. Then it's invalid. If becoming a guardian means abandoning people who need me, then I don't deserve the armor. The chamber became completely silent. Several long seconds passed. Nothing happened. Then, the entire illusion shattered like broken glass. The burning village vanished. Lucian disappeared. His father's image faded away. Everything dissolved into brilliant silver light. The armor system's voice sounded different this time. Warmer. Almost human. Trial complete. Kale looked around in confusion. I didn't choose. Correct. Previous candidates selected one path. You rejected the question itself. Golden light filled the endless darkness. The system continued. A guardian's purpose is not to choose who deserves saving. A guardian's purpose is to find another way. Kale slowly smiled. So, that was the real test. Affirmative. Synchronization increased. 20%, 35%. A powerful wave of energy exploded around him. Silver light surrounded the armor, changing its appearance completely. The dull black metal transformed into polished silver mixed with glowing blue lines. The shoulder plates became sharper. The chest armor carried the symbol of a phoenix, and a flowing silver cloak of pure energy appeared behind him. The guardian blade also transformed. Its broken edges disappeared completely. The blade became longer, brighter, and far more elegant. Another notification appeared. Guardian armor, second form unlocked. New abilities acquired. Guardian dash. Energy shield. Spirit sense. Special skill locked until 50% synchronization. Kale could feel overwhelming power flowing through his body. Yet something felt different. He wasn't stronger because the armor had changed. He was stronger because he finally understood what it truly meant to be a guardian. Suddenly the chamber shook once again. This time, an enormous crack tore across the black crystal door. A familiar voice echoed from outside. Found you. Kale immediately recognized it. The masked leader of the Shadow Dominion. One final strike shattered the door into thousands of pieces. The masked warrior slowly stepped into the chamber, his crimson spear glowing with terrifying dark energy. He looked at Kale's newly evolved armor and laughed. So, you passed the trial. His laughter echoed through the chamber as dozens of Shadow Dominion elites surrounded the entrance. Kale slowly raised the newly transformed Guardian Blade. For the first time since beginning his journey, he wasn't preparing to survive. He was preparing to fight. The shattered crystal door echoed across the chamber as hundreds of glowing fragments scattered across the floor. Dust slowly settled through the air while the masked leader of the Shadow Dominion stepped inside, his crimson spear radiating an overwhelming pressure. Behind him stood nearly 20 elite warriors, each wearing black armor engraved with blood-red symbols. Unlike the ordinary soldiers Kale had fought before, these warriors remained completely silent. Their eyes revealed no fear, no hesitation, and no mercy. Kale slowly lifted the newly evolved Guardian Blade. The silver armor covering his body glowed with calm blue light, illuminating the dark chamber. Only a few hours earlier he had been an ordinary blacksmith's assistant who had never fought a real battle. Now he stood as the newest guardian, facing one of the most dangerous organizations in the kingdom. The masked leader looked Kale up and down before smiling beneath his iron helmet. "So the Guardian Corps accepted you." Kale remained silent. "I expected the trial to kill you," the man continued. "Instead, it made you stronger." The armor system suddenly projected information before Kale's eyes. Enemy identified. Name, unknown. Codename, Crimson Warden. Position, third commander of the Shadow Dominion. Threat level, extremely high. Kale quietly read the glowing message. Crimson Warden. The commander laughed. "So even the armor system remembers me." He slowly pointed his spear toward Kale. "I'll make this simple. Give me the Guardian Corps, and I'll allow you to die quickly." Kale's grip on his sword tightened. "My answer is no." The commander sighed. "I was hoping you'd say that." Without warning, he disappeared. Kale's eyes widened. So fast. A split second later, the crimson spear appeared directly in front of his face. Instinctively, Kale activated his newest ability. Guardian Dash activated. Silver light exploded beneath his feet. His body vanished just before the spear struck, reappearing several meters away. The attack missed him by less than an inch, but the shockwave alone shattered the crystal wall behind him. The commander looked genuinely surprised. "You've already learned Guardian Dash?" Kale didn't answer. Instead, he charged forward. The Guardian blade flashed through the darkness with incredible speed. The commander blocked the strike with his spear, creating a brilliant explosion of blue and crimson energy that shook the chamber. For several seconds, neither warrior moved. Then both attacked at the same time. Sword met spear again and again. Every collision sent powerful shockwaves through the room. The Shadow Dominion soldiers stepped backward, unable to approach, while the two fighters exchanged dozens of attacks in only a few moments. Kale quickly realized something important. The commander wasn't trying to kill him. He was testing him. The armor system confirmed his suspicion. Combat analysis complete. Opponent is observing battle patterns. Recommendation: do not reveal all abilities. Kale immediately changed his fighting style, using simple attacks instead of his strongest techniques. The commander smiled. Smart, but not smart enough. He suddenly slammed the end of his spear against the floor. Dark energy burst outward like a violent storm. The entire chamber was instantly covered by thick black mist. Kale's vision disappeared completely. "I can't see anything." Another message appeared. "Spirit sense available." Kale immediately activated the skill. Closing his eyes, he concentrated. A wave of silver energy spread outward from his body. Although the darkness remained, glowing blue outlines began appearing inside his mind. Every soldier became visible through the mist, including the Crimson Warden standing silently behind him. "So that's your trick." Kale spun around just as the spear struck. The Guardian blade blocked the attack perfectly. The commander's eyes narrowed. "You adapted quickly." Kale smiled slightly. "You talk too much." Before the commander could react, Kale activated Guardian Dash once again. He appeared directly above his opponent and delivered a powerful downward strike. The Crimson Warden crossed his spear to defend. A tremendous explosion echoed throughout the chamber. The floor beneath both warriors cracked under the impact. Although the commander successfully blocked the attack, he was forced backward several steps. It was the first time anyone had pushed him back in years. The Shadow Dominion soldiers exchanged nervous glances. "The commander." He moved. The Crimson Warden slowly looked at Kale. For the first time, there was no amusement in his voice. "Interesting. You've earned my respect." He removed a small black crystal from his armor. Kale immediately recognized it. Another soul corruption crystal. But this one was much larger than the ones used by ordinary soldiers. The armor system flashed bright red. "Danger. Void crystal detected. Power output exceeds current synchronization. Immediate retreat recommended." Instead of retreating, Kale raised his sword. "If I run now, everyone above will die." The commander crushed the crystal. Dark energy exploded across the chamber. The black mist transformed into a gigantic shadow creature towering nearly 30 feet high. It had 4 glowing red eyes, enormous claws, and massive wings formed entirely from darkness. The soldiers immediately knelt. "Our commander's void beast." Even Lucien, watching from the edge of the chamber, looked alarmed. "So, he already controls one." The monster roared with enough force to crack the walls. Kale felt its terrifying pressure pressing against his entire body. His knees nearly gave way. The armor system issued another warning. Estimated survival chance, 12%. Kale took a slow breath. 12% is still a chance. The shadow beast attacked. Its enormous claw crashed toward Kale like a falling mountain. Instead of dodging, Kale activated another newly unlocked ability. Energy Shield. A circular silver barrier appeared before him. The monster's claw slammed into the shield. For several seconds, both forces remained locked together. Cracks spread across the glowing barrier. Kale gritted his teeth. "I'm not giving up." With a powerful shout, he pushed forward. The shield exploded outward. The massive beast staggered backward several steps. The Crimson Warden's eyes widened. Impossible. No ordinary Guardian candidate should have been capable of resisting a void beast. The commander immediately realized the truth. The Guardian Core. It synchronized with him far faster than expected. Before anyone could react, the silver pendant around Kale's neck suddenly began glowing. It was the pendant Lucian had given him. Instead of pointing north, the crystal inside the pendant rotated toward the eastern mountains. A new message appeared before Kale. Lost Guardian candidate located. Distance, 214 miles east. Signal detected. Weak but active. Kale's heartbeat stopped for a moment. The signal, it belonged to his father. He was alive. The realization filled him with hope stronger than any power the armor had ever given him. But the moment of happiness lasted only seconds. The Crimson Warden saw the glowing pendant and burst into laughter. So that's where it went. He pointed directly at Kale. Capture him alive. The pendant is just as important as the Guardian Core. Instantly, every Shadow Dominion elite charged toward Kale from every direction. 20 warriors, one massive void beast, and the Crimson Warden himself. The greatest battle of Kale's life had finally begun, and this time, there would be no escape. The enormous underground chamber trembled as the Shadow Dominion launched its full assault. Nearly 20 elite warriors charged from every direction, while the gigantic void beast roared so loudly that the crystal walls cracked under the pressure. At the center of it all stood the Crimson Warden, calmly watching the battlefield with his crimson spear resting on his shoulder. Unlike his soldiers, he showed no urgency. His confidence made one thing painfully clear. He believed Kale had already lost. Kale tightened his grip on the Guardian blade as he slowly turned in a circle, watching every enemy surround him. The silver armor covering his body glowed brighter than before, but the armor system immediately displayed another warning. Multiple hostile targets detected. Armor energy, 52%. Warning, continuous combat will rapidly consume remaining energy. Kale took a deep breath. If I waste my strength now, I won't survive. The first enemy reached him only a second later. A swordsman swung his blade toward Kale's neck, but Kale activated Guardian Dash, disappearing in a streak of silver light. He reappeared behind the attacker and struck the back of his armor with the flat side of the Guardian blade. The impact sent the soldier crashing into two of his allies before they could recover. 3 more warriors attacked immediately. This time Kale didn't retreat. Instead, he moved through their formation with incredible speed, blocking one sword, avoiding another spear, and disarming a third soldier within seconds. Every movement felt smoother than the last. It was as if the armor had begun predicting his opponent's attacks before they happened. The armor system confirmed his suspicion. Guardian instinct evolving. Combat prediction accuracy, 41%. A faint smile appeared beneath Kale's helmet. I'm finally starting to understand. But before he could press the advantage, the void beast attacked. Its massive tail crashed across the chamber like a giant hammer. Kale barely raised his energy shield in time. The silver barrier absorbed most of the impact, but the force still launched him across the room. He slammed into a crystal pillar hard enough to shatter it into hundreds of glowing fragments. Pain shot through his entire body. Although the armor protected him from serious injury, he could feel every bone trembling beneath it. The Crimson Warden laughed. You fight well for a beginner. But you've forgotten one important lesson. Kale slowly stood. And what's that? The commander's eyes turned cold. No warrior defeats an army alone. With a simple wave of his hand, 6 more elite soldiers rushed forward. Instead of attacking Kale directly, they surrounded the void beast itself. Each warrior placed a black crystal onto the monster's body. The crystals immediately dissolved. Dark energy exploded across the beast's enormous frame. Its muscles expanded. Its claws became longer. A second pair of glowing red eyes opened. The armor system flashed bright red. Warning: Void Beast evolution detected. Threat level increased. Critical. Kale's heartbeat quickened. It just became stronger. The evolved creature let out a roar so powerful that the remaining crystal windows throughout the chamber shattered instantly. Lucian watched from the edge of the battlefield, his expression growing increasingly worried. He's forcing the beast beyond its limits. If that creature loses control, everyone here will die. Kale heard those words clearly. For the first time since entering the sanctuary, fear crept into his heart. Not fear of dying, fear of failing. His mind suddenly drifted back to his quiet life in the mountain village. He remembered repairing broken farming tools, laughing with the old blacksmith, and sitting beside his mother as she smiled despite her illness. Those simple memories reminded him why he had chosen this path in the first place. He wasn't fighting for glory. He wasn't fighting for revenge. He was fighting so ordinary people could continue living peaceful lives. That realization steadied his heart. The armor system suddenly reacted. Emotional stability confirmed. Hidden passive skill activated. Guardian's resolve. Warm silver energy spread through Kale's entire body. The exhaustion weighing on his muscles slowly disappeared, replaced by calm determination. The Crimson Warden frowned. What did you just do? Kale slowly raised the Guardian blade. I remembered why I refused to lose. Without another word, he charged forward. This time he ignored the elite soldiers completely. His target was the Void Beast itself. The enormous creature swung both claws downward. Kale activated Guardian Dash twice in rapid succession, weaving between the attacks with astonishing precision. He sprinted up the beast's massive arm before leaping high into the air. The monster opened its jaws. A sphere of black energy rapidly formed inside its mouth. The armor system issued another warning. Void Blast charging. Impact probability, fatal. Kale had only one chance. Instead of retreating, he aimed directly for the beast's forehead. At the last possible second, he drove the Guardian blade into a glowing crimson crystal hidden between the monster's eyes. The entire chamber exploded with blinding light. The Void Beast froze. Its enormous body began shaking violently. Cracks of silver energy spread across its dark skin like lightning racing through the night sky. The Crimson Warden's confident smile disappeared. No. The core fragment. Kale looked down in confusion. Core fragment. The armor system immediately explained. Foreign energy source detected. Void Beast sustained by stolen Guardian crystal fragment. Kale finally understood. The monster wasn't naturally powerful. It had been strengthened by a stolen piece of Guardian energy. He gripped the sword with both hands. Then I'll take it back. With one powerful pull, Kale ripped the glowing fragment free from the beast's head. An earth-shaking roar echoed throughout the sanctuary. Without the crystal, the Void Beast rapidly lost control. Dark energy poured from countless cracks across its body as it staggered backward. The Crimson Warden shouted in anger. Stop him! The elite soldiers rushed forward once again, but they were too late. The giant creature collapsed onto one knee before dissolving into millions of black particles that scattered into the air like ash carried by the wind. Silence filled the chamber. The impossible had happened. Kale had defeated the evolved Void Beast. The armor system displayed a series of golden notifications. Major enemy defeated. Guardian crystal fragment obtained. Synchronization increased. 35%, 42%. New ability available at 45% synchronization. Before Kale could celebrate, the stolen crystal fragment floating in his hand suddenly began glowing brighter and brighter. A holographic image appeared above it. The figure was blurry, but Kale immediately recognized the outline of a man carrying the same compass that hung around his own neck. His father's voice echoed weakly through the chamber. Kale, if you're seeing this, don't come looking for me. I'm already too late. The message suddenly filled with static before disappearing completely. Kale stood frozen. His father was alive, but whatever danger he had faced 18 years ago still hadn't ended. Across the battlefield, the Crimson Warden slowly lowered his spear. For the first time, genuine concern appeared in his eyes. So the Lost Guardian left a message inside the fragment. He looked directly at Kale, his voice colder than ever before. That means he truly survived. The commander tightened his grip on his crimson spear as dark clouds gathered above the broken sanctuary. If your father is still alive, then our master will want both of you. As the ground continued to shake beneath them, Kale realized the battle was far from over. The truth about his father had finally begun to surface, and it was leading him toward an even greater mystery hidden somewhere beyond the eastern mountains. The holographic image vanished, but Kale remained frozen where he stood. His father's final words echoed through the silent sanctuary again and again. "Don't come looking for me. I'm already too late." For years, Kale had believed his father was dead. Now he knew the truth was far more complicated. Somewhere beyond the eastern mountains, the Lost Guardian was still alive, or at least he had been when the message was recorded. The discovery filled Kale with hope, but it also raised countless new questions. Why had his father disappeared? Who was he fighting? And why did he warn Kale to stay away? The armor system interrupted his thoughts. Memory fragment successfully collected. Guardian crystal fragment, 1 of 12. Synchronization, 42%. New mission updated. Travel to the eastern frontier. Locate the Lost Guardian. Before Kale could read the rest of the message, a terrifying wave of dark energy swept across the chamber. The Crimson Warden lowered his crimson spear and slowly removed his iron mask. For the first time, Kale saw the face of the man who had nearly destroyed the sanctuary. He looked no older than 35. A long scar stretched across his left eye, while strange black veins spread across one side of his face as though darkness itself had become part of his body. His eyes burned with crimson light, yet behind them Kale sensed something unexpected. Pain. The commander smiled faintly. "You've been wondering why I serve the Shadow Dominion." Kale didn't answer. "I wasn't always your enemy." Those words caught everyone by surprise. Even Lucien looked shocked. "What are you talking about?" Kale asked. The Crimson Warden looked toward the ruined ceiling. "Long ago, before the Shadow Dominion existed, I was a guardian." Silence filled the chamber. Kale's eyes widened. "That's impossible." Lucien slowly stepped forward. "No, it isn't." The old guardian stared at the commander in disbelief. "Darius." The Crimson Warden nodded. "So you still remember me?" Lucien's expression became heavy with sorrow. "You disappeared during the Northern Campaign. I thought you died." Darius laughed bitterly. "I wish I had." He slowly looked at his own hand. Black energy crawled beneath his skin like living shadows. "We failed. We believed we could destroy the void forever. But instead, the void entered us." Kale listened carefully. "You were corrupted." "Not completely." Darius shook his head. "I still remember who I was." His voice became quieter. "But every year, the darkness grows stronger." Lucien lowered his head. "The corruption has reached your soul." Darius smiled sadly. "There is no cure." The Shadow Dominion soldiers looked at each other in confusion. Many of them had never heard their commander speak about his past. Kale slowly lowered his sword. "If you were once a guardian, why are you helping the enemy?" For several long seconds, Darius remained silent. Then he answered, "Because I met the King of the Void." Those words sent a chill through the entire chamber. "He showed me the future." "What future?" Kale asked. "A future where humanity loses." The commander pointed toward the shattered Guardian Corps. "The Guardians failed once before. They'll fail again." Kale shook his head. "Then we'll become stronger." Darius laughed. "That's exactly what your father said." Kale's heart skipped a beat. "You met him?" "Yes." The commander looked directly into Kale's eyes. "We fought 3 years ago." Kale immediately stepped forward. "Where is he?" "I don't know anymore." Darius answered honestly. "He escaped, but not before sealing the eastern gate." Lucien frowned. "So Ethan actually reached the gate." Kale immediately looked toward him. "You know my father's name?" Lucien nodded. "Ethan Rowan." He became one of the greatest guardian candidates this sanctuary had ever seen. Darius continued. "He fought alone against an entire Shadow Legion. He destroyed our fortress. He even wounded one of the Void Generals." The commander smiled with genuine respect. "I've never seen anyone fight like that." Kale felt pride swelling inside him. His father hadn't abandoned him. He had sacrificed everything to protect the world. Suddenly, another violent tremor shook the sanctuary. Large sections of the ceiling collapsed. Lucien immediately looked upward. The mountain won't hold much longer. The armor system confirmed it. Critical warning. Sanctuary collapse imminent. Estimated time remaining, 3 minutes. Lucien turned toward Kale. You must leave now. What about you? Lucien smiled peacefully. My duty ends today. Kale immediately shook his head. No, I'm not leaving you behind. Lucien placed a hand on Kale's shoulder. For centuries I waited for someone worthy. I found that person. My mission is complete. Kale clenched his fists. There has to be another way. Lucien looked toward the glowing guardian crystal fragment still floating above Kale's hand. There is. He gently touched the crystal. Silver light surrounded both of them. The armor system displayed another notification. Guardian spirit transfer available. Warning, original spirit will permanently fade. Kale realized what Lucien intended. No, you'll disappear. Lucien smiled warmly. Not disappear. Live on differently. Before Kale could stop him, Lucien closed his eyes. His transparent body dissolved into thousands of glowing particles that flowed directly into the crystal fragment. The entire chamber filled with brilliant silver light. A calm voice echoed one final time. Remember, Kale, the greatest guardian is not the strongest, but the one who gives others hope. The light faded. Only silence remained. The armor system updated once again. Guardian spirit acquired. Lucien, mentor mode unlocked. Future guidance available. Kale looked down at the crystal in his hand. Lucien was gone. Yet somehow, he was still with him. A loud roar interrupted the emotional moment. The Crimson Warden spun his spear before pointing toward the collapsing tunnel. Our conversation ends here. He looked at Kale one final time. The next time we meet, I won't hold back. Instead of attacking, Darius signaled his soldiers to retreat. One by one, the Shadow Dominion disappeared into the darkness. Kale watched them leave in confusion. Why is he retreating? Lucien's gentle voice suddenly echoed from within the crystal. Because his mission changed. Kale frowned. What do you mean? Before Lucien could answer, the armor system projected a massive map of the kingdom into the air. A single crimson light flashed in the eastern mountains. Then another. Then 10 more. Finally, hundreds of red lights appeared across the entire kingdom. World event activated. Shadow Dominion mobilization confirmed. Enemy forces advancing toward the 12 Guardian sanctuaries. Mission updated. Protect the remaining Guardian cores before they fall. Kale slowly looked toward the distant eastern mountains visible through the collapsing sanctuary. His journey had begun with one mysterious suit of armor. Now the fate of the entire kingdom rested on his shoulders. And somewhere beyond those mountains, his father was waiting, while an ancient war prepared to begin once again. The first rays of sunlight broke through the clouds as Kale emerged from the collapsing mountain. Behind him, the ancient sanctuary that had remained hidden for over 500 years disappeared beneath thousands of tons of falling rock. A massive cloud of dust rose into the sky, marking the end of an era. The Hall of Forgotten Guardians was gone forever, but its legacy now lived inside the young warrior who stood at the edge of the mountain. Kale remained silent for several moments, watching the place where everything had begun only a day earlier. He had entered the mountain as an ordinary blacksmith's assistant with nothing but hope and an old compass. He walked out carrying the Guardian armor, a restored Guardian blade, Lucien's spirit, a fragment of the Guardian crystal, and a mission that would decide the future of the entire kingdom. The armor system quietly appeared before his eyes. Guardian status updated. Synchronization, 42%. Guardian rank, Initiate. Guardian core fragments collected, 1 of 12. Guardian spirit companions, 1. Primary mission, protect the remaining Guardian sanctuaries. Kale closed the screen and looked toward the distant eastern mountains. Somewhere beyond those endless peaks, his father was still fighting. Every instinct inside him wanted to begin searching immediately, but Lucien's final advice echoed through his mind. A guardian who rushes into battle without preparation becomes another name carved into history. Kale understood. If he wanted to rescue his father and stop the Shadow Dominion, he first needed to become stronger. As he descended the mountain, he noticed something unusual. The once peaceful forest had changed overnight. Trees were covered with strange black vines, and several wild animals lay unconscious on the ground, surrounded by dark mist. The corruption that Darius had spoken about was already spreading beyond the hidden sanctuary. Kale knelt beside an injured white deer struggling to breathe. Its eyes were filled with fear as black veins slowly spread across its body. "There has to be a way to help you." The armor system immediately reacted. "Void corruption detected. Purification function available. Warning, high energy consumption." Without hesitation, Kale placed his hand gently on the animal's forehead. Warm silver light flowed from the guardian armor into the frightened creature. Slowly, the dark veins disappeared one by one. After several seconds, the deer stood up, healthy once again. It looked at Kale with calm eyes before gently touching his shoulder with its nose and disappearing into the forest. The armor system displayed another notification. First purification successful. Guardian experience increased. Synchronization, 43%. Kale smiled. So the armor can protect life, not just destroy enemies. For the first time, he truly understood why the Guardians had been respected throughout history. Hours later, he reached the edge of his home village. Smoke still rose from several damaged houses after the recent monster attack. Villagers hurried to repair broken fences while others treated the wounded. No one noticed Kale standing on the nearby hill, watching them from a distance. He quietly removed the Guardian armor. Silver light surrounded his body before the armor disappeared beneath his skin, leaving only the glowing symbol on the back of his hand. "I should keep this secret," he whispered. "If the Shadow Dominion learns where I come from, everyone here will become a target." As he entered the village, familiar faces turned toward him in surprise. "Kale." The old blacksmith rushed forward. "Where have you been?" "We searched the entire forest." Kale smiled softly. "I got lost." The old man sighed with relief before pulling him into a tight embrace. "You foolish boy. I thought I'd lost you too." For a brief moment, Kale allowed himself to enjoy the feeling of being home again. After everything he had experienced inside the mountain, this simple kindness reminded him exactly what he was fighting to protect. That evening, the villagers gathered around a large fire to celebrate surviving another dangerous attack. Children laughed while musicians played old songs that Kale had heard since childhood. Everything felt peaceful, yet Kale couldn't ignore the silver pendant hidden beneath his shirt. It continued pointing east, its crystal glowing a little brighter with every passing hour. Lucien's voice echoed gently from inside the guardian crystal. "You cannot stay here forever. I know. They need you." Kale looked toward the smiling villagers. "They all do." The next morning, before sunrise, Kale quietly packed a small travel bag. Inside were only a few pieces of bread, a water flask, the old compass from his father, and the silver pendant leading toward the eastern frontier. He left a short handwritten letter inside the blacksmith's workshop. "Thank you for raising me like your own son. I have to finish something my father started. I promise I'll come home again." Without saying goodbye, Kale walked toward the eastern road. Every step carried him farther from the only home he had ever known. By midday, he reached a crossroads where 4 ancient stone roads met. A weathered sign pointed toward different regions of the kingdom: the northern kingdom, the western desert, the royal capital, the eastern frontier. Kale looked at the glowing pendant. Its crystal pointed firmly toward the east. Before he could continue, a familiar mechanical voice echoed in his mind. "Long-range scan complete. New Guardian Sanctuary detected. Distance, 417 miles. Status, under attack." Kale immediately raised his head. Far beyond the eastern mountains, a massive pillar of crimson light suddenly pierced the sky. The Shadow Dominion had begun its assault. Another Guardian Sanctuary was already falling. Kale tightened his grip on the Guardian blade. This war has already begun. Without another moment of hesitation, he sprinted toward the eastern frontier. Behind him, the peaceful mountain village slowly disappeared beyond the hills. Ahead of him waited forgotten kingdoms, powerful allies, dangerous enemies, ancient secrets, and battles greater than anything he had ever imagined. Somewhere in that endless journey, 12 Guardian Corps remained hidden. The Shadow Dominion continued gathering strength. The King of the Void waited for the moment his prison would break, and Kale's missing father fought alone against a darkness that threatened to consume the entire world. The road ahead was uncertain, filled with sacrifices, impossible choices, and enemies powerful enough to shake kingdoms. But one truth had become clear. The frightened blacksmith's assistant no longer existed. In his place walked a guardian whose courage had already begun inspiring hope wherever he went. And although countless challenges still waited beyond the horizon, Kale no longer feared the future. Because true heroes are not born with power. They are forged by every choice they make, every life they protect, and every promise they refuse to break.